Welcome back to another episode of the Autonomy podcast. As you can see, this is a new style of podcast. We are doing a video-based podcast instead of just audio. We have found the software to be able to do both, which is awesome. So we are going to put this on Spotify. Hopefully you'll be able to watch this on Spotify as well as listen to it. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be bloody everywhere. So it wouldn't be right of me to do a first video podcast without Zoom and not show you the 6 ways that you can get in shape and stay in shape forever. So we're going to break that down. So the first step to that is going to be setting your goal. It's really important to understand that without a large goal, without something that really means a lot to you, you'll get lost along the way. You know, fleeting priorities and value systems all come into play with this, and generally those things that don't mean a lot to us just get fallen down to the waysides when we do start, our fitness journey. I would love to be able to save money, but sometimes it just becomes less of a priority and I just end up not doing it. Same as the house chores or other things where like meeting friends that are not exactly your super high friendship circle, but the ones just below. You kind of put it off, or you don't get to go and see them because they're not that high of value to you at that moment in time to be able to go and do that with them, as it's hard to say. But ultimately, the key is always setting that large goal. You need to have a large amount of self-awareness to really delve into what that goal is. But even if you don't have that self-awareness, you just have that knee-jerk reaction just to be able to say, hey, I want to get in shape, I want to lose some weight, I feel more confident, 5 pounds less, then that's a good place to start. Ideally, that goal will always be tangible. So the ability to have tangibility to something will allow you to reverse engineer. It allows you to have that objectivity and allow you to set meaningful, smart goals. Without a goal like a kilo weight loss, a dress size, a suit to fit into, it'd be really difficult for you to say whether you've achieved that goal or not. A lot of people's goals actually come from emotions and feelings. So they want to feel a certain way. They want to look a certain way. They want to get some type of recognition externally or internally to be able to fulfill that need. Most people's desires to get in shape come from feeling unconfident, not being able to fit into certain things, and actually drive from the feeling of being shit or feeling like shit and wanting to change that particular thing, which is really important to note before you embark on your fitness journey. So getting that goal will allow you to reverse engineer. It may be 10 weeks, it may be 12 weeks, it may be 20 weeks, it may be 24 weeks, it may be 7 weeks. You never really know until you put that tangibility towards it and reverse engineer. And if you don't know how to reverse engineer, then you can ask someone like ourselves, just drop me a DM, nathan.autonomy, and we'll be able to give you that specific reverse engineered goal so you know how many weeks that you'll take to get towards your goals. So once you've got that framework of goal, you're going to need a method. Now there are so many methods. There's everything from intermittent fasting, keto, bloody balanced diet, portion sizes, water fasting, whatever the bollocks is fashionable at that moment in time. Generally, most people will utilize something that someone else has utilized that is in the close circle to them. So in the work world, it'll be the Cambridge diet, it'll be the intermittent fasting, it'll be the low carb diets. But when you look at the educational piece where, like myself or people in the industry, will recommend a lot more different methods that are a lot more sustainable. But you need to find something that works for you. But don't just base it based on, oh, I think this will work, or change my whole lifestyle to get towards that position because someone else got a result like that. You need to have a hard look about what you're doing, how you're doing it, and what you're not willing to sacrifice. That's a huge one. If you're not willing to sacrifice dinners in the evenings with your parents, a lot of the indie community that we work with will be able to do their breakfast and lunch no problem by themselves, but they'll always want their mum's cooking in the evening, and that will be a family non-negotiable. And having a diet that doesn't reflect that particular thing is going to be really difficult to implement and stay consistent with, because you're not going to do it because there's a high friction towards it. So we want to find diets that are reduction in friction and easy accessible, and that'll fit into your lifestyle very seamlessly. So the easiest way to do that is speak to someone like myself who knows what they're doing, but also equally try shit. Try something that seems logical to you, that seems not that emotionally biased towards someone else's results, but actually what you think will fit into your life, what will fit into your lifestyle, and something that will be easily accessible. Convenience, food and convenience is key when it comes to dieting. I spoke about this on an Instagram post recently. Convenience food and convenience dieting will always stay true to one of the easiest ways that you can get in shape or get out of shape. Like the way that you manage convenience food will be the dictating factor with how you get results or you don't get results. So finding a method that works for you, but try a few before you actually say, this one's the right one for me. And we can recommend those if you choose to. Once you have a method, your goal is to improve doing that method. There's no bones about it that every single method works. The perfect plan with shitty implementation breeds no results. A shitty plan and higher implementation breeds great results. And that just brings down to, yes, the methods are important, but actually the implementation of that method is super, super important. You see those people that are super, super adherent to the low carb keto diet. They wouldn't eat a carb, they wouldn't even look at a carb, let alone eat one. And because they do that, because they buy into that philosophy so much, they get the results that they want to. Whereas the people that do keto or low carb, but then at weekends, they become the opposite of that and have pizza and have burgers and have alcohol, they obviously are not committed to that particular method. And that's the key fundamental when it comes to phase number 3 or stage number 3 or step number 3 or whatever number 3 is the implementation of trial and improvement. If you're overweight, your shit stinks when it comes to dieting and staying consistent with eating healthy. Otherwise you would be in some reasonable shape. Let's just put it out there. But knowing that you're not very good at it, knowing that you suck at consistency, knowing that you're not great at weekends, will allow you to get better. And one of the biggest steps and the biggest fundamentals of stage number 3 about the trial and improvement, which relates to every single step along the way in anyone's health and fitness journey, is that you have to be able to be okay with you not doing so great at something and then getting better at it. If you can't take feedback from the data or yourself or a coach, like in work, if you were every single time had a performance review at work and you were really butthurt by their ability to pick out that you didn't do certain things and use the data to say that's why you didn't do it and that actually we need to improve in that area, if every single time you threw your toys out the pram at work with that, you probably wouldn't have a job for very much longer. Whereas in the dieting realm or the health and fitness realm, we tend to not see it as that. We tend to see it as, oh, I can just forget about it and I won't solve my problems. I'll just find another method. I'll just find a new way. I'll find a new way. Very similar to if you had a barber that wasn't a very good barber or didn't cut the hair the way that you wanted to. And then you went to another barber and another barber. And then after 10 barbers, they still didn't cut the hair the way that you wanted to. What would have solved the problem in the first place is at that first barber saying, hey, could you do this for me a little bit differently? Hey, could you do that a bit more differently? And then you wouldn't have had to go to the 9 other barbers. So that trial and improvement part is absolutely critical for you getting the long-term results and changing your habits. Like I said, your shit stinks when it comes to dieting and consistency and managing weekends. If you're not aware of that, if you don't understand it and want to get better with it, then you will never find a method that works. You'll always yo-yo diet. And sometimes it's the method, and sometimes it's the implementation. And the majority of the time, it's both. That's why people end up doing something for 4 weeks, coming off plan, going back, gaining 10 kilos, round the circle again. Exactly why Autonomy was born, to stop this whole palaver. And that's where we need to look at the implementation side of things. Once you learn how to trial something and then improve it over time and not be afraid to fail, because failure is one of the core limiting beliefs and is a core belief that we held dear to our hearts, that if some people have that core belief, the fear of failure will stop you from either trying or it'll stop you from acknowledging the truth in those circumstances because it hurts a little bit. It attacks our inner self, our inner kid, or whatever it is that says, hey, you're shit at that. Try and avoid it at all costs. Whereas if you are tackling that head on and you see it for what it is, which is it's something you need to improve, then you're much more in a position to be able to take that next step and get towards your goals. And the reason why step 3 always leads to step 4, if you implement it, is that you cannot trial and improve and not get to your goals. There's either the trialing and then no improving, or there's so much improving but you're not trialing anything new to get a better outcome. You need both sides of that trial and improvement coin. Then once you've done that, like I said, it's absolutely logical and objective to state that you will achieve your goals if you continue to trial and improve over time. There's no statement that will go against that. You have to improve, and that improvement over time will get you to a point where you get the results that you want to. For example, if, for example, at the beginning of your diet, you're not very adherent, the weekends are like 4,000, 5,000 calories. But over time, you trial and improve and you move it from 4,000 to 3,000 to 2,500 to wherever you need to be. That reduction will obviously bring results around with your body weight, with your body fat. And over time, that trial and that improvement will see linear gains and see linear results because you stopped doing something that was adverse to your results and started doing something that was positive for your results. So once you get your goals, that's really important. Now, normally this is where the book stops for all those long-term, outstanding people that have yo-yo dieted, if they've managed to get this far within their phases, the fourth phase, they will think, right, I've completed it, job's done, I'll go back to the beginning, or I'll just go back to where I was before. If the method was not right for you and truly wasn't right, you'll find out right about now. Because if the method wasn't right for you and after you hit your goal, you're starting to move away from it and you don't want to do it, it wasn't the right method. A method should gather some momentum and should implement into your lifestyle. There will be parts of a diet that you will not do for the rest of your life if you're with a good coach. So with Autonomy, you may weigh your food at the beginning, you may track your food, you may weigh yourself daily, you may check in every single week, you may do WhatsApp messages daily, you may train 4 days a week, you may do 15,000 steps, whatever it is. But once you reach your goal, our job as a coaching company is to remove things like weighing food, not weighing yourself every single day, not tracking food, going off portion sizes, to make it as easy as possible to maintain the results that you've got with the least amount of effort in the least amount of time. That's what the goal is. So when people get to their goal and they think, all right, I've done now, I'm finished, they fundamentally miss that the way that they set their diet up is for a diet, is for a reduction of body fat, not the maintenance of body fat. Because the maintenance of body fat will garnish different things. One is a short-term goal, maybe 12 weeks, 10 weeks, 15 weeks, but the lifestyle is 20 years. There will be different methods. Let's break it down into an analogy, right? So if you're aggressively saving for a mortgage over 2 years versus a long-term saving for a mortgage over 20 years, the things you do in 2 years to get the same amount of money over 20 years will be significantly more aggressive. It'll be significantly more weighted, valued, precise, and versus the 20-year goal, if you had an ability of wanting to save £20,000 over 20 years, you would not have to save that much over a 20-year period and not have to give up that much. Whereas when you're saving it over a 2-year period, you'll have to give up quite a damn lot to get towards that 20k over a 2-year, unless you're in an absolute bank of money. So it's the same with dieting and a lifestyle. The lifestyle will be a lot more or less intense, but the same similar things will have to happen. There will be awareness, there'll be frequent checking of where you're at and how you want to be there. There'll be some sort of nutritional thought process, there'll be some training and exercise, and some general healthy habits and activity on a day-to-day basis. That might not be a specific step target of 15k, that might not be weighing food, but you will never find that out if you give up in stage number 4 instead of stage number 6. People will do that dieting mentality and the dieting method and think that they can do it for 5, 10 years, but it has a lifespan because the things that you did will not be maintainable unless you have a super focused, the only thing you've got to do in the rest of your life. You don't have kids, you can never step a foot out of line, you don't have social events, you don't go on holiday. There will be people that just do that and that's what their primary goal is, to look amazing and stay in shape. But then the rest of us that are wanting a bloody lifestyle, to be able to spend the money that we earn, to go on holiday, to have bloody nice food at restaurants, to be able to go out and have a few drinks with friends, whatever it is, won't want to live the way that you did during the diet because that will be for a short space of time. So phase number 5 is all about learning that lifestyle solution, what that long-term maintenance looks like. So that'll be, if you've done correctly, that'll be maintaining a body weight over 0 to 4 kilos-ish for that time period of probably 6 months to a year. The research is really clear. If you maintain your weight over a 6 months to a year period, following a diet, you don't gain like 10 to 15% of your body weight back, you'll keep that off, or they have the highest probability of keeping it off over the next 10 to 20 years. That's the best we can do from a dieting perspective and a lifestyle perspective to settle you in the best position possible. So that's what we really need to do. Most people that do diets need to settle their body weight for 6 months to a year and prove to themselves that they can stay there, because if they stay within the body weight range, that means they will have controlled calories to be in that body weight range, it will have controlled exercise, training, lifestyle to stay in that body weight range, which makes it more of a habit and more of a long-term process, something you've done consistently, and that's the reps in the tank that you'll need to be good at that particular thing. Staying in a bodyweight range is an absolute skill and you'll need to practice it. And once you've done that lifestyle phase 5, and you've done things like you're moving away from weighing food, you're doing things like you're getting the most from the least, and you're putting the least amount of effort into your fitness but maintaining your weight, you'll know you're ready to kind of be at the point where you don't need any help, you don't need any guidance, you just need that repeatable system, if it works for your lifestyle, to repeat that. But the last thing is always about how you monitor and how you adapt to change. One of the biggest things when people come on board to us, some people never struggled with their weight before. They've never been in a situation where they had to look at their diet. You know, they've been genetically gifted or they did enough exercise to burn off their calories. But then a life event happens and boom, they've put 15 kilos on. COVID, 10 kilos on. Family death, 5 kilos on. Big wedding over the summer, their wedding, 10 kilos on. Whatever it is, there will be a point in which those that want to stay in shape long term will have to adapt, reassess, overcome, and then plan again and re-go through the same process. Those that will gain the weight back will do things like ignore the weighing scales, ignore the sizes of your clothes, ignore the habits that you're forgetting, take their head and effectively bury it in the sand. And that's phase 6, that living with autonomy, we call it, is about never burying your head in the sand, and that you've always got controlling factors. Even if they go a bit off piece over time, you're able to get yourself in a situation where you give yourself a bit of a wobble, you plan for the next steps, you recourse correct, and then you live that lifestyle that you've just already done for a year or 6 months, and you redo that. Maybe it changes because you need to wake up at different times. Maybe it changes because you go to train at different times. Maybe you've different food sources, or you've got to eat differently because you're now staying at a parent's house and they're cooking food. Whatever the weather, whatever the storm, whatever the situation, you will have a plan, because you never bury your head in the sand, to be able to adapt and overcome. So if you're there with your parents, it'll be about managing portion sizes and making sure you're active and making sure you're still getting your routine in to the best of your abilities. Whilst it may be slightly adapted, you're still going to get something done. So that's just an example. But the key fundamental for phase 6 is, once you go and get quote unquote autonomy, or you stay in shape forever if you're not part of autonomy, you will be saying that you never want to bury your head in the sand with your fitness and health ever again. And that when things come up, like your body weight starts to creep up, or your size t-shirt starts to feel a little bit more tighter, you don't let that become something that makes you move away from the focus, and actually it brings you towards making change. Because once you've got that autonomy, once you've got that change, once you've got that got in shape, stayed in shape, you've got all the tools that you need to just make that small sort of change. Be like, yep, cool, I'm being a bit of a dick at the moment with my food, let me pull that back in, and then I'll be absolutely fine. And as long as you can learn to do that yourself, that whole cycle over and over again of yo-yo dieting will change dramatically for you. And once you get each individual piece, hence why there's 6 phases in continual order, you'll get all the lessons that you need to learn to a point where you're staying in shape forever. And each fundamental part, which I could go into further detail, but each part of it, whether it's the goal side of things, whether it's the method and figuring out what works for you, whether it's the trial and improvement, whether it's the moving away from specific methods after the diet, whether it's finally achieving that goal, they all have psychological benefits to you living that lifestyle and that staying in shape forever, because of the lessons that they teach you. Those people that never get in shape never learn the lessons of what it's like to stay in shape. Those people that never get a method of dieting that they enjoy will never learn what it's like to diet and not feel super restricted. Those people that never have a really high line, emotionally attached, driven goal will never know what it's like to focus on one thing and really go for it and have that as a centerpiece in their day. And there's always fundamentals along the way that you learn, lessons that can be transferred into your psychology, it can transfer into work, it can transfer into your personal life. But once you learn those 6 steps, once you learn the underpinnings to them, you'll be in a much better place, not physically, but emotionally and every other part too. So they're the 6 steps that I firmly believe that you need to do to get in shape and stay in shape for life. Like, comment, subscribe. If you like the video and you like these video ones, drop me a like or a comment, and any other topics that you want, just put them in the comments and I'll definitely cover them. So guys, it's been Autonomy Pod's video edition. Speak to you soon.